goodness, episode 4. This is like the most episodes I've done in one sitting because I could only ever film like 2.5 episodes at one time. So finally, episode 4 of the Saddle Club series 3. We won't waste any time and jump straight into it. They're really making it look very horror movie-like. I don't know, like I know what the premise of the episode is, and just the way they're getting around with it makes it seem so much more intense than it should be. Like, you can turn on a light, you don't need to use your torches. It's kind of what I was kind of going at. Why were they using torches? You can turn on the lights, it's not going to upset the horses. You'll find the owl so much faster. Spoiler alert, there's an owl.
Wind. Mom had feelings about things. Sometimes I feel Starlight does too. It's like he can read my mind.
It's kind of like what horses do. When you ride them, they can sense fear. And a lot of times people can do commandments with very little movement, simply because they have that special feeling with the horses and they can use very subtle movements to control the horse. That's not just Starlight, it's pretty much every horse that can be properly trained with a rider. I mean, seeming in the past episodes, Trouble was running around and not even sitting still up in the hayloft. How do they trust him to sleep up there at night when he wouldn't even sit still in there during the day? Like, how do they know he's not going to wake up at 2 AM and just run down the stairs? Like, why are they trusting him now when he couldn't even do it before? Time.
Me out of action. 3 of them at Pine Hollow.
No way! We would never hurt Garnet.
Somebody did. And I'm going to find out who.
I mean, it's a bit hard to jump to conclusions. I mean, this happened at night and there's only one person who you absolutely hate and accusing who was there at night. So by saying all 3 did it, kind of a bit of a ooh moment. And I think the title don't give a hoot is a clue to what's going to happen. Just so there's no spoilers, the title is Don't Give a Hoot.
It's going to have to teach Midnight some manners, aren't we?
Do you want us to help you look for your horse? No, it's okay. He'll come back when he's hungry.
You're treating him like he's a cat. That's what cats do.
Half the circle, please, Marty.
This horse is obviously overtired, and it's your job to make sure that they're well rested.
No, it's not. It's not his job to make sure the horse gets a good night's sleep. He's not even there at night. It is your job to exercise them and settle them in for the night. She is your horse, your responsibility. It's Pine Hollow's job just to feed her and stable her and make sure she's alive, basically. It's not his job to go around the stables at night and make sure they're asleep. He is allowed to go home at night. Give him a break.
Just give me a break. I'm overloaded here. Mucking stalls, booking lessons, teaching you.
And this lesson is supposed to be private. Private means private.
Okay, Jack, you can't really pull that face. We've had this before in season 1 where Sam had to have a makeup lesson thanks to being sick. You wouldn't schedule a lesson in someone's private class. If they pay for a private class, you respect that and you give someone a makeup lesson somewhere else. You find the time. You move the private lesson. You ask Veronica's permission first. Usually it's going to be a no. You can't just invite other people into her class. You do unfortunately have to honour their wishes for it being a private lesson.
Slow it down.
Christy,
Slow down.
you are so lucky to be.
I don't get it, it's a trot, it's not like they're galloping. Like, it's a trot. I'm looking at it now, it doesn't look like a fast trot to me, but what would I know?
Well, as you should, or you would have recommended her. She bought me my first horse and coached me when I trialled for the Olympics.
Nice try, Max. But when
I know Mrs. Reg from the past 2 seasons, and I know what she's like in the books. If they were desperate enough for a teacher, she would have jumped the gun to help out just for the interim while they find a new teacher. She wouldn't be saying, I'm retired, do it yourself. She'd be willing enough to help other people, because that's what she is. She's the people pleaser. She wants to be there to help other people. The fact in this episode how she acts really slacked and I'm retired, do what you want, it just reminds me how that's not her personality. She would have been sure, let me help out until I find someone else to fill the time.
So that's the chore. You've seen it all.
Do you think you'll be riding here often, Desi?
I hope so.
Then you'd be riding here often. If your horse is adjusted here, you wouldn't be riding at another centre. I think your wording should be, do you think you will adjust here, Desi? Not, do you think you'll be riding here often? Because if your horse is adjusted there, you would be riding there as much as you could.
Look, I better go see if Midnight has turned up.
Again, you didn't ride Midnight here. Meaning, Midnight may not find his way back here. You'll have to go back to the place where you fell off, or to the place you started riding him, or to a familiar place to Midnight. You wouldn't be staying around Pine Hollow because Midnight doesn't know where Pine Hollow is. He has no emotional connection to it. So the fact that you're expecting your horse to come back here, I don't know. Logic to me.
Looks like she can afford a meal.
Mum says Morningside's really expensive. But she looks like she slept in the barn.
She's 11. Do you really think she's the one paying bills? Like, just because people are rich doesn't mean they dress rich all the time. I know people who have a lot of money, live in rich houses, and wear track pants and Ugg boots all day. And I look at them and think, you don't look like you can afford a meal, but I'm well aware of what their balance is. Just because people don't dress to their, I guess, value, doesn't mean they're not rich. She's not buying any houses, I promise you. It's her parents who are affording it. She's not the one pulling out her pocket saying, oh yeah, here's my 30 mil. Like, that's not how that works. I think you should be questioning her parents as opposed to what she does. Because just because someone is rich doesn't mean they have to dress in diamonds and high heels and stilettos every day. That's not how the world works.
I think we're going to have to put up some posters.
Why?
Well, to alert the people who lost trouble that he's here.
They don't care. Otherwise they wouldn't have let him get lost.
That's just a bit rude. Like, sometimes I don't think you'd be looking at every lost dog poster and being like, well, clearly you don't love your dog, otherwise you would not have let him get loose. Things happen to animals and sometimes they just happen to run away. They dig holes and they get under fences and they run away. It doesn't mean the owners don't love them. So that is a very disrespectful statement. Just because people have lost their animal or pet doesn't mean they did it on purpose.
Well, yeah, until he's claimed. But he'll have to be paid for like all the other horses.
How much will that be?
$10 a week.
$10?
Jesus. They don't realize how lucky they are. For one, they won't be the one paying it. Their parents will. So it would be $5 each. Second, you know how lucky that is? My adjusting fees are about $500 a week. And they're getting $10? And that covers food, water, adjusting. It covers everything. And they're getting $10 and they're complaining about it. How do you feel privileged?
That's right.
But what about a discount? Because
He's giving you a fucking discount.
so small.
$9.50 and it's a deal.
And my private lesson, conducted by Jack. A nice guy, but a stable hand. It was complete chaos.
Hey, Red was a stable hand and he stood lessons and you didn't complain back then.
Maybe you could put her in one of your classes.
Yeah, look, as much as I'd like to, my roster's booked with senior riders.
I don't get it. Didn't Max used to teach riders? Like, didn't he used to teach everybody? When did that change? He always used to be the main instructor. In fact, the only reason he didn't do it in season 2 was because he was away in France. And that's why Red had to do his instructing course. Doesn't mean he quit doing it for juniors, and I don't even think they are juniors.
Why don't you teach it?
For the last time, Max, no, I am too old.
Oh, no, you're not.
Yes, she is.
Oh my god! And they say age is button. That is rude. Oh my god, I would never say that to someone. Oh my god, Veronica, your manners. Oh my god, I used to have that camera. I had it in pink, blue, green. I think we had one more colour. Oh my god, am I that old?
It's still.
Where from?
There's plenty of stuff in the lounge fridge.
You You couldn't have just gone to get some carrots and apples that are downstairs in the feed area. You're gonna go steal from people in their personal fridge?
She wasn't on the level.
Now, I have a question for you guys. What do you think of my mother taking classes?
Well, if she can teach as well as she bakes cookies, great.
You guys have been to her incursions. She taught you horse whispering. She's done many sorts of riding. This isn't the first time you see Mrs. Reg ride. I can't, like, my brain isn't letting me think right now. But there are other times we saw Mrs. Reg ride and interact with the kids in lessons. This isn't the first time they've seen her ride. They're well aware that she has the knowledge and experience to teach her how to ride. Why are they acting like, well, if she can teach us like she makes cookies, then of course. Like, of course you know she knows how to instruct. It was one of her past lives that she did. Why are you acting like it's one massive surprise?
No, it's okay. We drive past Morningside. We'll drop you off. Okay, I'll just meet you outside. Good move, Lisa.
I think she can hear you. She was still walking past me saying, good move, Lisa. Like, clearly she knows there's a plan, and that's going to scare her off.
If she goes to Morningside, she's the real deal. And if not, she'll have to come clean.
Again, she's probably run away because she heard you guys talking and invading other people's private life and privacy. So she probably ran off for that reason. Again, what is with the torches? Just turn on the friggin' light. It's not going to damage all the eyesight.
Oh, we've got to get down there. Where did they go?
They were heading for Garnet's stall. Do you think maybe they're in Garnet's stall?
What are you doing here? What are you doing here? We asked you first!
Well, Carol couldn't just reply with I live here. It's kind of a dumb question to say, what are you doing here?
What's going on? I don't know!
Oh, another rule, you don't scream around horses. I'm sorry. That's why they always say calm, low voices around horses. You don't scream around them. I don't know who taught these girls. Even in fear, you're supposed to stay calm. You don't scream around a horse.
Okay, you know the rules. No staying overnight without permission.
But technically we did have permission.
Whose?
Carol's. She lives here, remember?
I think they've got you there.
Well, even so, if I had invited a friend over at the age of 11, I'd have to get my parents' permission. Like, I couldn't just invite a friend over and be like, well, I live here, so therefore I'm allowed to have my friends over. Not really how the game works, and I think Mrs. Reg should have maybe enforced that a little bit more, saying, yes, you may live here, but you still live under our rules.
Veronica was the only one not invited. I don't need an invitation to protect my property.
That's kind of true. I didn't go to a riding school, but I went to adjustments. And we could show up at any time of the day or night to look after our horses. And we do sign waivers that if anything is to happen, you know, out of hours, it's in our responsibility. And also within hours as well. You know, if we are looking after a horse, riding a horse, and it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon, we fall off or something happens to our horse, it's in our own right. So Veronica is correct there. She's allowed to go in and check her property at any time, day or night. She doesn't need permission for that. What she would need is a guardian to drop her off, because I doubt her parents will let her sneak out of her house and drive to Pine Hollow. Maybe she should walk, I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking about this all too far.
From what?
You had warnings that something was wrong with the stables.
What warnings?
Somebody cut Garnet's leg the night before last.
Just say 2 days ago, it's a lot easier.
All we have to do is send an email to sign up.
Okay, you're just putting blame on yourself. Why would you wear the same clothes twice? Like, I get sometimes I'll wear like the same jeans and maybe a jumpers 2 days in a row. But I didn't go horse riding in those jeans and jumpers. She looks worse. Why would you wear the same clothes twice, and why would you not just brush your hair? You're just begging for their attention.
Look at her. Poor Tessie.
She's caught a cold and it's all our fault.
How?
She probably heard us in the stables, so she slept outside, and it was freezing.
Let me tell you how illnesses work. It takes 3 days before you start showing symptoms before you are sick. Meaning, if she caught the cold last night, it wouldn't have showed symptoms for another 3 days. Because illnesses take 3 days before they start showing symptoms. Just a little FYI.
But we don't know if she's been sleeping there or not.
Why am I the only one who's ever on time?
You know what, Veronica? You think you're so hot, why don't you teach the class?
If Jack doesn't show soon, I will.
I mean, the instructor isn't there, so technically the class hasn't started yet. So no one's technically late yet. Sorry, little hiccup, but I'm back now. I don't remember what I was talking about, so let's just continue.
Awesome!
It's like they've never seen someone jump like that before. Like, they've seen Dorothy, but they're actually like this is their first rider who's shown them amazing grace practically.
All right, girls, mount up.
Are they really that surprised? They are well aware of Mrs. Reg's history. Okay, it's not like she lost touch on horse riding. She's always been able to horse ride. It's never something she's not been able to do. So the fact they're acting so surprised that that was her all along.
Melanie, we're over our heads. We have to stop taking food from the lounge.
But we're gonna pay everybody back.
With what money? You can barely afford to pay your board, apparently. How do you plan to pay everybody back for the food you're taking? And why didn't you just ask them if you could take their food? They would have told you that there's carrots and apples in the downstairs feeding area.
Joke!
Just calling out that wouldn't do that to a horse. Horses have far better concentration and are able to control their hearing. That wouldn't have upset a horse, even if a rider did stumble a little bit. So, very rarely that would, someone yelling, "Choke!" would that upset a horse, because horses are used to talking around. They're not the only people in the arena, people are talking. They're used to other sounds going around. So unless the rider actually did something to ruin their concentration, which didn't look like it, very rarely something like that would happen. You didn't want to yell choke to Mrs. Reg to see if that could upset her concentration?
Good job, Mrs. Reg. Woohoo!
When you're ready to jump like that, let me know.
Go, Mrs. Reg!
Sorry, Veronica.
So I guess the lesson's over because people weren't taking riding seriously.
You rode brilliantly today. Well, for someone your age.
She just can't admit that she's good. She just has to say you're good. But for someone your age, I mean, you could be better if you were younger. She just can't admit that people can be good when they're older. Older and wiser, they say.
Thank you, Veronica.
You blew us away today, Mrs. Reg.
I just don't get why they're acting like this is the first time they've seen Mrs. Reg on the horse. They're well aware she can ride. They've seen her ride before. They're well aware she's won ribbons in competitions and has a high reputation. Why are they acting like this is the first time they've seen her on a horse?
What is it?
A big owl, isn't it?
Or an owl. How many owls have you seen to have to judge how big they are? To me, that was just a regular owl. I just would have said it's an owl. Wouldn't call it a big owl.
Hot is that horse.
What a beauty. Who's Issy?
That would be mine.
I mean, calm down. It's not a pantomime. I think we can calm down on the expressions. I think we can put the pantomime away a little bit. Just a thought. It still doesn't explain why she wore the same clothes twice though and didn't brush out her hair, which she has done now. Doesn't explain too much.
Why did you think I was homeless?
Well, you did wear the same clothes twice in a row and messed up your hair. It kind of made us think that.
Well, what, it's a long story.
It's only been 24 hours since you met her. It can't be that long. Another episode done and dusted. If you did like this episode, please give it a big thumbs up. I think Minty enjoyed it very, very much. And please do subscribe for more, and I will see you next time in the next episode. Bye guys!